command line interface, which is your command line terminal, or how do you call it, shell, yeah, right, in Windows. So with CLI you can communicate, and I showed it to you before, you can communicate with your actual data and actual files and do whatever you need in the terminal. And to simplify our life and like to do more sophisticated things, we use Node and Node Package Manager, and basically some packages, libraries that somebody created for us. So yeah, for today we have just what is libraries, user inputs, and structure and names. So for our libraries, library is just someone else code. So somebody just created a bunch of code and you can use it. Yeah, there is library for everything. Literally, if you go to npm, I have no npm. Do they have some stats? Maybe not. But I bet it's more than a few millions of packages they have. So that is why we were saying that we have packages for everything. How to use them? Always, each package has documentation, and we will get today to that point where we will try to add a package and how we'll read some documentation to learn how to use it. Yeah, so some people call, and this depends on the language you use. You might call module, package, gem, lib, dependency, etc. So gems for Ruby and maybe Python, I'm not sure, because I'm pretty sure that I know that for Ruby gems. Libs for languages like C. Modules is Node modules. Packages, So packages and modules, probably we use it for Node. The wording, and dependencies, it's more generic one. So it's like very universal. So yeah, npm Node Package Manager. So we use it because this is like a kind of app store for packages that we need, and you just go there and download and install whatever you want. So this is the app store, kind of. And yeah, so install packages, and when you run npm init to initialize, and I'll show you an example in a second. And then you'll get a folder, Node modules, and you'll see it in your project folder. So how to use them? Let's start and do something. So here I have my lesson folder and I have empty index file, right? Before I can use and install any packages from npm, I need to initialize my npm environment. So all I'm doing is npm init, and then it will ask about package name. By default that will use your folder name. So in my case it's lesson, then version, description, endpoint. So you basically can click. We have some update. Yeah, let me just update my npm. It just says it. It's not related to what we just did. It just showing me that. Sorry. Sudo. Yep. So let me just remove this package.json. Again, if I do npm init, it will ask about all of that. You just skip everything, hit an enter, and then it will create package.json. So package.json is this description about your project, and here you will get like dependencies and packages that you want to install every time you will run npm install here. So every time you run your npm install, it will read your package.json file, look for packages, and will install all these packages. Here we don't have any packages yet, right? So yeah, in our case, today we want to install color. Color, it's kind of almost color, but it's kind of about colors. It is about colors. So here's a package, color, yeah, something like that. It is pretty popular. It's more than 7 million per week. So it's 7 million downloads per week. And what it does, we are getting to the point how to know how, like in what way I can use it. You need to read documentation, and every single package has documentation. So here it says that how to install and the usage. So we will try to use it. So let's start from installation, right? npm install -- save clear. So here I will run my command, and you will see that now I have a dependency, right? And now I have my node modules where I will have my color package, right? Folder. So I've just installed this one. And from this point, if I remove my node modules, for example, I remove it, this one. So package lock basically says which versions of your dependencies should be installed. But let me just show you. So now we don't have a node module, so we don't have this package. And if I want to, let's say this is your Git repo, you download your Git repo, you have your package JSON, and you want to install all these packages. You don't need to go and manually install them. You just do npm install, and that should, come on. Hey, lesson repo, why doesn't it install my dependency? Wait a second. Okay, it installed my dependency. It just my VS Code is buggy. So if I go to my node dependency, we have our color, right? Let me try to refresh my node. And it's annoying. Yeah, see, so we have this folder, just stupid node. Great. So just npm install, and this is it. It will read all your dependencies from here and will install them. So now you can use this package. And to use this package, all we need to do is import it into your project. To do that, in Node, you need to write const. Basically, you create a variable and assigning everything from this package. So this is for Node. This is syntax for Node. Because for JavaScript, it works slightly different than for React, and we will get later in this course how to use it with JavaScript. So let's stick with Node. Const close. Am I spelling? Close. Yeah, I mean that can be kitten, but require. So our smart AI says that we can do this. Yeah. So now this package is available for us. And what we can do. So let's start with some simple message. So here we can do our node index.js, and we have some error. Good start. Y KLE, yeah. Spellings. This is actually like probably the main part of any of bugs are spellings. Okay, so you can see that we included this to our application, but we don't use it. So I don't use this clear. So let's start with node index. So we have our hello, right? And if we go and read documentation, we can see that we can style our text, right? So in the terminal, the output, so we can see it in different colors that can be bold, it can has backgrounds, underlines, etc. So let's actually try to do that. So all we need to do here, we have, let's start with, so basically, as you can see that clear use dot, blue, dot, bold, dot, something. What does it mean that we have dot? What clear is?
Object?
Yes, correct. So clear
Okay.
is an object. And in this object, we have a blue a key, which is a function, so we execute in it. And this function return a new object. And in this object, we have bold, which also a function, so we executed it. And this function return us an object, and there we have underline. So basically, this is like a huge tree of objects. So let's do something. So you can see that here we have our hello, just hello, but let's style it. Dot background yellow. I'm guessing that it has, because it's just that kind of property. And I want to have so yellow and black. So let's rerun. As you can see, I have a syntax error because this doesn't exist. So let me check what can we use. BG red. So we have BG, I believe that we have yellow. BG yellow. Yeah, we have background yellow. And that should be black. So why do I have? That is why it's very useful to read documentation. Oh right, they are functions. So I need to execute it. Yeah, let's try again. Yes, woohoo! We have hello with background, right? And we might edit some spacing before and left, after, and maybe we want to have bold, so black and bold, save, and we have it bold, and we might add some underlines, etc. So now, because we are using this package, we are able to style our messages, right? And you can create like a kind of style system. So let's create some function which will be title. Create title, which will be, so here we will have text, and every single title will be this, right? So we will have consistent titles. So now we can do something like that. Hello, and let's hi again. So we don't need to repeat all of that. And we know that this is a consistent stylings for titles. And what do they have? So you can, as usually, you can concat your strings, etc. So this is a like very simple example of any package that you can use. And you need to use more packages for your CLI project, and we will talk about that today. So yeah, as you can see, here we have an example, and here we have an example how you can use it. Also, yeah, this is a good advice that read documentation is a valuable skill. Trust me, it's so tempting to skip everything and just copy paste it and try to guess because you don't want to read all these docs. But this is how it works, and it takes time to like build this habit to read everything, and not just like land here and like okay, how this copy paste it, and this is it. You need to go carefully, so you read that API here is colors, backgrounds, and modifiers, and you can use like black, red, green, yellow, blue, magenta, key, cyan, white, gray, and gray. Gray, two types of gray, American and local. Yeah, and you can't use anything else. So if I create something like not black, but I don't know, yellowish, it will not work, right? Because it doesn't exist. So you need to read documentation, and you can use colors only from here. So let's say magenta, not black, and maybe not yellow, but actually it's good one for background, and this one should be white. I think that by default it is white, but let's try. Yeah. Yep. And you just go through it. You can destruct your package, right? So you can, now we getting the whole object, huge object, but you can destruct it straight away. We see because of ES6, we can destruct PG magenta. We can destruct this one. Oh, yeah, probably this one, and we can destruct this one. Right? This is what they're saying. And you just wrap in one into another, one into another. Not sure which one is cleaner in our case, right? So in this case, that means that we have this one. We just put in this one inside, this one inside. Probably object is much cleaner to read rather than just passing callback functions inside into each other. So let me try, is it actually working now? Yeah, still working. Yeah, I prefer to see the object because I can see that's what's going on, and just go through the object. So you just read documentation and just use it. They have a lot of things to do, I believe. Now, this one not many, but this is the whole point of the package. It is tiny package. You can check when you add in package to your project, you also need to check the size, because if this project is huge and you'll not get the big benefit from it, from usage, you might want to just create your own write your own code rather than just use package, because there is a nice website, Bundlephobia, where you provide like a name of the package, look for it, and that will show you the size. So minified 1.6 kilobyte, it doesn't have any dependencies, etc. Let's look for Lodash. This is a big one. It's 69 kilobytes. Ooh, also no dependencies. What? React. Let's React. Router done. It has some dependencies, right? So it has 28 kilobytes. It shows you the loading time. Ooh, look at this, nice CSS. It has dependencies, history, React router, self, this is the exact package, path to regex. So basically when you install in this package, React router DOM, you'll install in all of these packages because they are dependencies. Okay. So let's go to Lodash, because Lodash is actually a big thing. It's a huge thing. It's very powerful. I don't like it, but because I don't like packages in general. If you don't need it, then just don't use it. Write your own code. It will be more efficient. Because basically someone's code is just an abstraction to what you need, right? You just implement, let's say you need 2 functions from this package, but this package has 10,000 functions. So you're wasting all of that. So sometimes it's just more efficient to create your own thing. Okay, so let's try to read and something about how to. Let's try to look what kind of method we can use.
Are we going to use Lodash in CLI project?
No. I just want to show you that, yeah, brilliant. Look at this. Manually, this is very fun to create, right? And actually, we might want to add more exercises for future cohorts to recreate such methods. But with Lodash, so let's go actually how to install it. So let's install. So npm I or npm install is the same thing. It's just a shortcut. Great, so now in our package we have Lodash, and normally people create Lodash like this, require, and you can see that our AI knows what we are talking about. So now if I have const r1 1 2 3 5, and we have const r2, we have maybe 4 3 6. So we can use the package, the function to find the difference between these two. Where is it? Right, so we pass in 2 arrays, and that will send us a difference from, and you can see that. Let's read the docs. Creates an array of array values not included in the other given arrays. So it will check if this array has something that you don't have here, it will return it as a separate array. Right, so in our case, we have array 1, not like this, sorry. So Lodash difference array and array 2. So that's supposed to return us 1, 2, and 5, right? Let's try. Node. Yeah, 1, 2, and 5. So again, this is somebody created this code for you. This behind the scene. That is why you're doing a lot of exercises with for loop, with while, etc. Because behind the scene, actually, this is what's going on. Somebody just doing this for select, filtering, etc. manually for you, and from your side, you have just a nice abstraction by passing 2 arguments. And you have a lot of things like find index, you have find last index, and it's more sophisticated than pre-built one. So we have flatten, which is actually pretty useful. So it will basically, because here you have another level of array, right? So it will remove 1 level of the array. And I think you can pass like propagate or something. Yeah, flatten deep. It's just a different method. That it just flatten or whole your array of arrays to 1 array. Yeah, I mean, this is very funny to build like manually, because for me it is a recursion. We are not actually talking about recursion, but recursion is when the function calls itself. So just to show you, what do we want to do? Let's create actually a function. So I will quickly show you an example. Yeah, I'll leave it for the end, till the end of the lesson. If you will have time, I will show you how to do that manually. Because it is fun. Recursion is the kind of, it's fun because it's very easy to fall into infinite loop. So that is why recursion is kind of, you need to play around just to understand how to stop it. And you often miss the way you stop it. So Lodash is a huge library. This is JavaScript library, and you might want to use it, but in this course we don't require it and we don't use it. And my personal suggestion: avoid all packages as much as you can, because this is just waste of your resources. So yeah, we already showed it to you, Clear and Lodash, so that should be fine. Questions about that? Any questions? Okay, good to know. Yeah, so let's go to the next step, and we will talk about actually the package that you need for your CLI project. So yeah, Node is not very friendly for users, and we have one more package, Redline Sync. So let's go to npm. Oh, actually, because I was looking for it, we already have it here. Beautiful. Still, and this package, yeah, we will talk about that in a second. So user make mistakes and you need to handle them. And trust me, it's very often very obvious for you how to use it, but users looks like this. This is real case scenario. So yeah, that is why you need to use, and every time you're collecting any data from the user, you need to validate it, and you want to provide user some feedback. And again, sometimes if you're thinking, so there is like two things. User can provide you wrong data or wrong format because it doesn't understand how to do that, what it's supposed to be. Or somebody just try to hack you and provide some specific data to break your code. So, and for both these scenarios, you want to validate every single data you've collected from the user. So here we have an example that we require our function, require our package, and we're creating a question. So this is how this package works. And let me just go here. So let's go to the documentation. Here they have an example. So you have your question from that package, passing the value, the message actually of the question, and this function will return you a value that user will return, that provide to you in the terminal. So you can assign it to a variable, and then you can use this variable for any for anything you need. This is just a regular variable. And they have quite a few things besides just a simple questions. Hide echo back. Yeah, so they have some extra functionality. We will check it in a second. You can have basically yes or no questions. They have this function. You can have lists to select something from the list. You might generate a list by yourself, right? So you can have an array, you can loop through it and console log every single option. And then when user provides you a number, you will take this number and validate, etc. Or you can just use key in select and you'll have this list. So you just need to pass as a first param, you need to pass an array, and second param is second argument is just a message. We have some sliders. I showed it to you, I think, last time. And see. What can we else do? Ooh, they have a lot of things. Prompt key, set default basics option. Let me find something interesting. So again, you just going through it and basically try to use it and read documentation how you can use it. And you can see that, oh, they use Chalk, another package, but yeah, that's fine. So we can provide mask and make question like response colored, set background, set color, etc. So let's actually do that. So let's go to the very beginning. First of all, we want to install it, right? So first step is npm install save. So now we have it here, right? Let me just remove. We want to have this. We don't want to have long dash const. How do they call it? Redline sync. Okay. Sync. Require readline sync. Yeah. Const. I don't know. User name. And we have readline sync question, and we have what is your first name? So log hello. We probably want to interpolate. Username. So let's save and try to run it. Wrong one. What is your name? Sale. So see that it's tiny thing, but it would be nice to have a space here, right? Because we will have space there. Let me try stop it. To stop it, if you don't want to go to the end, because you might have like 10 questions and you see that I have a problem on a second, you can press Ctrl C to stop the execution of your node. So let's try again. Your name, sale, hello Vasil, right? But I can provide something like this, or I can provide nothing, right? So you want to validate somehow, and you might create actually like a while, right? So you will have something like, I don't know, let's do empty string, and you have while username is falsy, right? So if it's falsy, not true, you want to ask this question, right? And that will always be falsy because we have this, so we want to have let. And to update, we want to have our username equals to this. And let's try. So this is like a manual handling, but I believe that they have something pre-built. So we will check that. So username, enter. See that if I click, it doesn't allow me, but if I provide Vasil, hello Vasil. And you can validate, you might check, is it a string or a number? Is it any other value? Does it have characters or not, specific symbols or not? And you might create a function like a validate username, which will do all this validation, and you will put here just is valid and just the value. So it depends. But let's actually check their docs, because I believe that they're supposed to have, what is that? Let's try this one. Yeah, second param is an object. Ooh, look at this. I see. So that can be used for password. Beautiful. Right? Great. But we want to style it. I think it should be validation. Some validate question pass. So again, this is a huge thing. So let's look for question options. And here we have some basic options. Prompt, mask, limit message, default input, true value. See that here we can require true value, case sensitive, keep white space, encoding, buffer size, print, history, CD. So true value means that we want to have, oh yeah, so you can kind of specifically declare what kind of responses you want to see. So let's actually show you this example. Again, this is you just basically reading their docs and response. And here we'll have response, right? So let me just rerun. How do you like it? If I provide meh, I see the meh. Okay. If I provide something from yes, we are getting boolean, right? So you can have booleans if it matches, or the value if it's not matching. Pretty useful, I would say. Encoding, buffer size, print. Let me actually see how we can colorize, because I think it might be useful. Ooh, question. Give me a second.
Sorry, I missed that. The true value, does that validate the numbers and the string?
Sorry?
Numbers.
Say again?
Those true values, do they validate whether it's a string or the number?
Oh no, so it returns you true or false. So it returns true if it will match yes, yeah, or yep. It will return false if it will match no, nah, and nope. Other than that, you will get the actual response from the user.
I see. So if you asking a question, let's say a name, and if the user puts the number, so that wouldn't be.
No, it doesn't validate. No.
No.
So you need to handle it manually, right? So you can create like if you will take the response and check. So if you go back to this our while, and here you can take. I don't know, for example, you'll take const response, and you can take, let's say, create a function const is valid string, because I want to outsource it somewhere, and string here. And we will check, I don't know. First of all, is it true C, right? Is it actually a string? And type of string. And what do we want to also check? Yeah, it will be always string because we are providing from that, so there is no point to check for the string. But we can check parse int str not equals to str, and not strict equals, but just regular, because that can be a number, right? So we want to compare if it's 25, so we will parse int and want to compare just a value. So not equal to string. So it is true C and not a number. And we might use some regex to remove all, to check for characters. Oh yeah, right. Look at this. We can create, let's do this. So regex is the most painful part of the like programming in general, for me specifically. So regex, and we have new regex. And I think that regex test str, and I think that should be something like az, a z, a z. I might be right. So now we basically don't need to check for parse int because we just doing this, right? So that should be true C and match, and should be just alphabetical characters. So now we want just to return the response is true, and this is true. Then we want to return a thing. Let me actually check, is it work like that? Because I really not a big expert in regex. We have this, beautiful. So now we can test this. This is not string, but you know, hello, true. Okay, if I put 9, 3, still true. I'm doing something wrong. Definitely something wrong. Okay, regex. Choice only JS. Let's quickly Google for that. This is what I'm doing, right? Is it? Is it what I'm doing? Looks like this is what I'm doing. Let me check that here. Should be like, that might be like this. Still true. Rejects JS. Let me check that. Right. Later, okay. So we have regex. And yeah, okay, I might doing just that in a wrong way. So we want to check it here. And then we just pass one thing. That might be it. Let me just close this, refresh this, provide my regex, and then I want to test my still true. Oh, wait a sec. Still true. Any experts with regex here?
Nope.
Sad times. Give me a second. It's always painful. Regex is just crazy. We're testing string for table football. A to Z. Another thing I might miss is that might be.
We could also do it with the condition, like if the string, you know, the input values are string, it's a string, then you go ahead, do something. If it's not, then don't do that.
Yeah, I just want, because regex is probably the best way to do that, because you just validating the whole string. New regex chars only js. Is it what we're doing? Looks correct for me. Come on. Where's a good example? Any good example? Give me a second. This is how I'm spending days. Googling. Okay, so we have this. I'm wondering, will it work? Easy. Then allow this. We allow just characters. God damn it. Okay, I'll play with it and send you the solution. Don't want to waste your time. So here we might want to validate is, yeah, let's go back to our parseInt. So we'll validating, is it at least an answer, any answer, and is it not a number? So return. And now is valid string. So here what we'll do, if is valid string and our response, so that should be true C, then username equals what? Equals response, right? Response. Otherwise I want to console log something like please provide a valid first.
Play with me.
Sorry?
Please don't play with me.
Yeah, please don't play with me. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, let's try. What is your first name? Please provide the. Yeah, let's actually style it. Why not? Let's go crazy. Clear dot background not black but red. Then we want to have just white. I think by default it is white. So we can just do this. Right? And then you have just, I don't know. Oh yeah, empty string. Still, if I provide a still, hello. Right? So you can build some logic around that with whiles, etc. And you can outsource such logic. If you have like first name, last name, etc., you can outsource it to different functions and just reuse it. And this is the whole point. So you just playing with the library, read their options. Let's actually quickly. I showed it you again last time, but let me just comment it out this one. So yeah, const. This is wrong. This is wrong. Beautiful. Because we already declared it. And you have your like 3. Okay, crocodile goes to your room. Beautiful. Good company. If you provide like I don't know 8, you can't provide. So if I'm typing 8, it doesn't allow me to do that. It accepts 0 to cancel. But with yeah, 8 characters, no. So you actually validating already without any extra logic, what you can take from the user. And based on the user, but based on the answer, you might have like, I don't know, in your case it's books, movies, and that might be your categories, right? And here, like options. And here you might have, so you'll get an index. So here you'll have your options and maybe have some logic around that. Like if I'm building on everything on global scope, but you can, it's probably nice to create some functions. So if equals books, go to another category, right? Which will be another thing, some array of books, and you'll get basically the same. So you'll have book 1, book 2, and you'll reach book and console log books with the index. And I bet that they have like 0. You can pass some extra logic for that. Let me just look, because if cancel, you want not just escape from the whole code, right? You probably want to go to the now menu or something, or like one level up. Let me just look for key and select query options. Echo, back, mask encoding, guide, cancel. So cancel strings such as go back. So you can redefine it and the value, right? So here you can redefine value to cancel, and you can, yeah, or go back to one level or whatever. So you can do something with that and build some more sophisticated logic around. So let me just see, will it work for us? If I run my code, beautiful animals, because we don't have animals. Run books or movies. If I click 1, awesome. Which, right, so now it asks me about which book, right? So we got to another menu, and we can handle like 0, so we'll get out, etc. So you can have some navigation. Again, this is basically your part of your project. Okay. So yeah, this is what you do. You collect in values and try to build some logic around it. You probably want to outsource to, I'm just repeating myself, to some functions. You don't want to write everything in global scope, like if, else, etc. You can have like initial menu, create some const initial menu or main menu, and that this function will do something for this specific menu, and then you will have something like const init, which will initialize and start the sequence of all your functions, and one function will call another function, so you can jump between these functions, etc. For example, here, if your book's not this, then you will so if basically if doesn't equals to books or doesn't equal to something else, you just skip and you have else, and that will call another function. So you jumping from one function to another and executing them. And here you will have your, let's say, main menu or something, and in the end you will have something like init to start your application, right? So in your global scope you will have nothing. Everything will be hidden. So let's say in init you will have here this one. Right, so you don't need, when you initialize, you're asking about this one, and probably again main menu. So that should be inside main menu, because you want to navigate to this menu and call from other menus to jump to this menu. And let's say for this one, const books menu, index, and options, or just option probably is better. So here from this menu you will call your books menu, right, and pass the option, which is options index. So you'll jump here if your option equals book. You want to do this and print the book, for example, else you want to jump to menu, right? If it doesn't match books. So now if I run my code and I'll go to books and I have book 1 or book 2, so if I press 0 it's undefined. Let me think. So when I click 0, okay, for this one, oh right, so we're rendering this, but we're not handling actually the response. So here you're rendering books menu, yeah, that should be in slightly different order. So books menu you're rendering, and then you have your books let me show you. Yeah, so here books index equals to, I don't know, for example, book 1, if it just equals to book 1, then do something. Else go to main menu, right? So you'll let's actually cover, or maybe just invalid. Just should be valid, should be true C. Maybe. And else go to menu, main menu. And here you also want to have your if, right? So if index, sorry, option index, option index, then you want to do this, right? So you select, otherwise you want to exit probably, otherwise you don't want to do anything. So let's try again. I might be wrong with these default values, but let's start. So 1, create, if what option is not defined, option, yeah, because we don't need this one, just a yeah, you probably need to check here for books because you rendered book. Okay, so you're not passing books, you just call in this function, then you have books console, yeah, should be fine. Let's try again. 1, beautiful. Are we doing options? Yeah, see the problem. Options. 1, must be array items. Where do we have items? Must be an array. Any ideas? So we clicked index. Wait a second, why we are asking? Yeah, so I click 1, that will be stored here, and we are taking I just want to take this one. Let me try. So this is 0, okay. Equals books, which is okay. So now we call this one. Right, sorry, I forgot to pass my books here. That is why. One, yep. So if I press something and that will be valid, I will print books, the specific book. So let's start with 2, book 2, okay. Or if I go to books and press 0, I'm going to the main menu, right? And if I press 0, I will close my application. So I would say that this is pretty much main functionality for your application. That will be more complicated, but this is the whole point. So you'll create functions, abstract them, link them, and call each other from different places.
So can we say that like the initial function, the main function, you have more function in it. So you wrap around the other function within the initial function, and you call them accordingly. Is that okay? Or shall we just define all the functions differently in a global scope and just call them wherever they are needed?
So again, in init, in my case, this is just main menu, right? But you might want to collect some data like first name, last name. So you'll have here like first name, and you have like a question for this one, right? And then you'll have a last name and maybe something else. And when you collect all this data, you want to pass it somewhere here, like a first name, last name, maybe age. And you might want to pass like first name, last name, age, or something. So that might be more complicated. In my case, it's just one thing. Was it your question?
No, I'm saying like, the main function which will run the application. Shall we wrap around all the functions in it, or shall we define different function? It doesn't matter the size, small function or the bigger function. Globally, and just call them wherever they are needed. So I'm just trying to find what will be the best pattern.
You're saying, can you put your functions here inside?
Yeah, all of the functions in one main function which will be executed, or different function everywhere and just call it whenever they are needed.
Right?
Yeah, like everything is in it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say don't do that, because the whole the idea of the functions is like single. So you might heard about solid. This is like a pattern, and S stands for single responsibility. So your one function should do one thing. You probably don't want to put everything into one big function. I mean, you can do that, but it's much easier to read if you have everything separately. So I can go through all of them and see that, okay, so here how it works. Okay, this is another function. And I can go through all of them. So it's much nicer to have them separately.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, this is the. So here we have just a few more examples, and you can. This is what we are doing, right? So if it's integer and more than 18, so we are validating, because that can be none, right? If it's a string, if I'm asking about age, but you provided me some string, it will not be converted to a number but to none, and we will fail this. So again, this is validation, and this is all about that user can try to break your application or can accidentally provide something else. Maybe you will ask about age and somebody will just literally type in 20 like TW, etc. like as a word. So you need to prevent such things and think about how you can architect your application that nobody can break it. So yeah. I'll already show you an example. Instruction and names. This is another part, huge part. So names are very important. Every single time when you create a new variable, you need to think about proper name. And you might find some memes in the internet that people just like last 2 weeks I've spent to think about variable name, the right one. And this is because it's really very important. Because when you have if you have like a very tiny application, yeah, probably it can be X, right? But if you have a huge application and you have very similar things, it's much easier to debug for you. You will see that when you have proper names. And this is very important for readability, well, it doesn't matter like from code perspective for computer, because it doesn't matter how you will call it, but it's more about it's about readability for you and people who will read your code in future and work with it. Again, this is what was your question a second ago. Functions should be small, so every single time each function should do only one thing. If you think that I want to do something different, create a new function and call it from this function. Don't write the logic there, just outsource it to some other function. And yeah, variable names should be descriptive. You need to describe what you're actually doing. And here, a good example, maybe somebody preferred that, but you can have something, do a thing, right? Function. Good name for the function, do a thing, and pass in just 3 variables, a, j, k, and create another constant ggg, which is I multiply j. It's very easy to debug later, right? It's like, why it doesn't work? Like, because ggg, g, doesn't calculate the correct value from j, right, or something. And const mn, etc. This is just ridiculous. Don't write. And you might think that, oh, come on, nobody's writing ggg and jjj, etc. But this is like of course, is like we kind of dramatize that. But to be honest, you will see that many times you will use the variable name that actually not very descriptive and not actually represent what you're doing and what kind of data you have there. And you might notice that when I'm doing and when I'm writing my code and when I start refactoring something, when I'm changing the data, I'm immediately renaming my variable just because it should describe what I have. So here, slightly better, but still the same problem, right? Magic number, num A, num B, num C, etc. First, second, it's also very bad. So don't do such things. But we are getting to the right place. And yeah, so here we have generate magic number. So num A, num B, num C, that can be an answer. So you have first, second, and second divided by 3. It's still like, ooh, we have GGG here. Look at this. that might be first. Yeah, so you just basically, it's still not very readable, but you can call it, so generate magic number, you pass in numbers, and display magic number function, which will display like specific specific message with the value from your magic number. So here, yeah, can you guess what this code does? What is it saying? So for each E, what is E, and display E, right? So it's kind of almost, so you know that you try to display something, but imagine that this is like, you know, message. What it does, meh. So display at least say something, but still it's not perfect. So yeah, saying, because this is for each, so I presume that this is an array, right? So it shouldn't be, because this is an array, it should be pluralized. So that should be things at least. So now you have things. But because you have things, so one thing here shouldn't be E, should be a thing. So we have thing now, right? Because now this is a single thing. And again, here, this is a good example. So we have stations array. So that means that here you want to create a variable station because you've taken one thing, right? You've taken one per step. So this is very important. It looks like meh, I can name it kitten, and I prefer to name it kitten, right? And here I will have my kitten. But the whole point is that when I read kitten, I have no clue what's going on. But if I have stations, so I know that, okay, so station represents one station, and here it might be even better to have not stations but stations names, right? And here you will have station name, and now you will expect that this is actually a string. You will never see this array. It might be very far from here, but when you see on look on this one, station name, you might expect a string behind just because of the name. And that will simplify debugging of your code. Because station, from station, if I read just station, I would say that that might be an object. Because station might have a name, that might have, I don't know, the location, address, etc. But maybe some data about how many passengers it handles every day, or like anything. So that is why naming is very important. And when you create a new variable, think not just twice, but more times, just to think what is the best name. And yeah, so I would say, let me just stations names. It definitely will be better. And this is the same. You will always think that oh, actually, I can rename my variable to something else. And now, because you have station name, and stations names, this is what I just said. So you can be far from declaration of your stations names, but you understand what's going on. So yeah, the problem that I already mentioned, what display do. So station name, and see, station name is better. And station name takes something from, try to actually, it expects that, oh, this is the first character. It just has a, try to print first character, right? Because if you use position like as an array, your string, you will get a character from that position. So basically that means that you want to rename your function from display to display first letter. And now when you call your station name and have station name is this, you understand what's going on. And again, if this function is very far and you read this code, you have, give me a second, I need to update our docs, right? Stations. So when you read this code, you understand, okay, so now we have stations names, we have take station name with display first letter and pass in station name. I don't need to see what's going on inside this function where you create it. I don't need to see what array is this one because I already understand what's going on. And that kind of approach will, trust me, you will see that as later on the course when we will get to big projects, relatively big, it's not huge projects, but bigger projects, you will see that even there you need to use your variables, and this is insanely important. So please spend some time to think about variable name when you create any. Okay, so Sam says that to the code editor to improve our name structure. So Sam created, I'm pretty sure that he might not have left us. Do you have any questions, by the way?
Yeah, could you please spare a few minutes in the end just to check the requirements? Because I think this project has some requirements, isn't it?
Yes.
And just to go through the requirements.
Yep.
Thank you.
Bum, 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 bum. So, yep, so you want to have requirements, main menu which lists available options, return to main menu after completing action, handling unknown options. So yeah, this is what I showed you, right? So we have a main menu with some message, you go into some sub menu, you're doing some actions there, maybe selecting book or something or whatever. Then you can go to the main menu, you can return, not just collapse the application or close the application. And when you complete the action, and if I'm trying to provide some wrong data, you want to validate it. So I shouldn't be able to break it. Not many, actually.
So what about the first one, that all 4 CRUD actions?
Yeah, these 4. So let me just see here. Example to get any style. Yeah, so the application is about we have a demo. Do we? Let me think, 'cause
I think CRUD stands for like a create, read, and something, isn't it?
Yeah, update and delete.
Yeah, so update and delete, or the delete, I don't know. I think I'm not sure if I can recall myself correct, but Sam said, just leave the destroying part or delete part.
Okay. Really? I haven't spoke about that with him. But, I mean, yeah, easy. So we can have like just update. So we can ideally, so you'll create like an object, right? As a result, you'll create an object with selected options. and you'll build it like a some like kind of local object, so you can update your data that you already stored. You can add and you can read. Yeah, you can probably delete for now. You might yeah. So here you have a few ideas about your application. So it can be like Reddit style posts with comments. So you can leave comments probably. So you can create like you have like 3 posts. You can create a list of posts. So you select posts, then you have read a post. So you have like a just titles. When you go to the post, you will see the actual post, and you can leave the comment or go back to the main menu for posts. Or you can leave a comment, so you will see your comments, all comments in the post menu. You can remove your comment, etc. Yep, same for movie lists, tickets, etc. Here you have your options. Yeah. Questions?
You had briefly mentioned that these CLIs are often used in back end. Are there any good libraries, or like can you talk a little bit about how exactly it's used in the back end?
So it's not like this is more for sysadmins,
right?
Because you can query some data from. So you have like a data in a database, right? And you don't need to run the whole application. You can just write some commands here and run some scripts,
right.
and you'll retrieve this data from, because you're basically triggering some functions.
I see.
With such, so here, for example, we have like question, right? Or you have a list. You'll render a list, and when you click answer 1, you'll trigger fetch data from the from the server from this with that query, like give me all users, or give me the table with something else, or like, so you basically just triggering different JavaScript functions in our case,
right,
to see response here in the terminal.
Right. So it's more used just to speed up the workflow.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So you might have a sort, like, right? So you can have like, you select your let's say you have books and movies, so you go select books, and then you can get a whole list of books, but you have an option filter. So you provide select filter, provide your filter query, and that will trigger another function which will filter your books and show you only these books in your terminal. So you do this, all these manipulations from the terminal.
I see.
If you go to terminal table.
Yeah.
Sorry?
You mean probably like a small? Do you mean probably like a small bookstore? Like you have fiction books, you have autobiographies, and how many people have upvoted or reviews? Which one book would have better reviews?
Yeah, exactly. And here you
can leave a review, or you like it or dislike it.
Yeah. So basically, you're replacing your UI is the terminal. You don't use like a browser, or you don't use anything. You just good old MS-DOS style. And here you see that you can use another package, which is CLI table, and you can basically, by providing some data, it will generate the table, right? So you can have something like that. And to be honest, is it RC? Let me check this. Because 3 months ago, I was renting a drill from the store. What was the store? Let me just tell you. Has this one, and they still use this MS-DOS style system. So basically, they have that kind of interface. Something like that. very similar.
So like how many cars they have available, how many got rent?
Yeah, so if you want to,
and whatever, I see.
yeah, if you want to book a drill, they look for this drill, click booked, and provide all my details, who booked it, and they have like they can get a list of booked or of people, of users, etc. So they build in, again, they have terminal and they have a database.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but again, because we're moving because our computers becomes more and more powerful, we use this less and less. But still, like for again, for admin work, right, or for like a backend, when you connect yourself to the server, you just have a terminal, and you might have some specific tool, some specific like CLI application that will help you to work with your server data. Yep. Okay. So, key points. Coding is, yeah, so let's start from the beginning. The most important factor when you're writing code is coding is a lot of reading. You need to read documentation. This is very, I don't know, for me personally, it's very hard to force myself to read everything I have in documentation. But sometimes I'm wasting my time only because I haven't read the documentation. Just because I was scrolling and just like, I can see the answer. And that is why I'm missing the answers. And sometimes it's just very silly. So yeah, read documentation and read other code. This is very helpful as well for you to when you read somebody else's code, because you can see that, okay, this is how other people approach it. That is why we in companies we have code reviews. So when I have some work to do, write my code, then I create a pull request, and somebody will review my code and will leave a comments that, okay, here's you need to change this. You might you can change it. The other implementation can be better. I'm not sure that you need to have it here because you might want to remove it and refactor it into that way. And basically you're learning. And again, by reviewing someone's code, you just read, okay, oh, I saw that I will approach this in that way, but here's much leaner and much cleaner. And yeah, the last point is make your code readable. This is very important again. We talk about our variables and about structure. So don't write like spaghetti code, create tiny functions, good naming, and yeah, you'll see the huge benefit from that later in the course. And when you become a developer, you'll see yourself, you'll show yourself from the better perspective to others when you join some company, and they will see your well-structured code. And even when you're doing some tests for interview, when they open your code and see that, okay, so all names are nice, functions are tiny, they will prefer to hire such developers because their code is more readable. And this is very important. It's not about, okay, it is working, don't touch it, it is working. This is a bad approach. Be careful with your code and go very slowly through everything, and just think how you want to approach it, how you can rename, or what name is better for you in this instance, etc. Yes. Any questions on that? No? Okay, so give me a second. We have a few more exercises to deploy. I think it's just a few. Let me just check that.
I think the project itself is exercise, isn't
Yeah,
it?
project is exercise. I agree. Give me a second, it's not much. Week 4. Yeah, it's not much. So we have some libraries. So you'll prepare yourself. We have 4 exercises: libraries, user profile, user input. But this is all you need for your project. So yeah, that should be fine. You'll be fine. I'll publish them now. Okay, yeah. So enjoy your project, and again, the first module is a bit weird because you don't know enough to start from the very beginning. For future projects, because you already know some JavaScript, we will show you the projects from the very beginning of the module, so you can think, okay, so I can do something already and build something because you already know JavaScript, and you can start doing some small steps. Of course, by the end of the module, you think, oh my gosh, I need to rebuild this because it's horrible, because you'll learn much more things. But this is always the case. When you're working as a developer, it's very funny. You will see that when you wrote some code, then you're doing working after that, and after 4 months, you read the code and say, oh my gosh, who wrote that? And you have a git blame, which is basically when you click on the line, you can see the author of this line, and you're like, oh my gosh, that was me. So this is always the case. But because you're writing more code, because you're doing that again and again, you'll become a better developer. So yeah.
Sorry, just quickly, when is this interface one in for? When do we need to hand this one in?
The end date, you mean the deadline?
Yeah.
Next Tuesday. I mean,
Next. Okay.
yeah, next Tuesday.
Cheers.
Beautiful. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'll deploy exercises now.